Hey, so I wanted to make this video to show that you can have a really good experience with police and ambulance, and like hoping that regard is not lost. And yeah, like driving the wrong way down the dual carriageway was a big thing for me. Like, that's an intense mistake, and I'm feeling very lucky to to be safe and unharmed after that. So where should I start? Well, I was driving around quite late at night. I started driving around at about 10:30, and then at about 11, I pulled over in this industrial estate. And I live in Norwich, by the way, so that's where this is happening. So I pulled over in this industrial estate, and I'd been to this poetry event called Poets Palace, which is a poetry event that runs in different cities like Manchester, Birmingham, Norwich, different cities in England basically. And it's a really highly energetic, oddly on a Sunday night, poetry event where there are people that have booked in advance to perform and are getting paid to perform, and then also there's some open mic slots. So yeah, I really enjoyed the event, but I was feeling quite low when the event finished. I just wanted it to go on. I didn't feel like going home, because I've been feeling like low lately and struggling in my own company. So I just wanted to like keep talking to people after the event, but they were kind of in their groups and had homes to get to. Well, I did too, but I was in no rush. So I coped by, after driving around for a bit to try and like take my mind off it all and focus on the road, I stopped in this industrial estate to message people, and that was somewhat helpful, but I didn't always get the responses I wanted. Like, for me, when I ask someone, how are you, if I'm not asked back, I then feel really terrible. So that happened. And yeah, that person probably didn't do it intentionally. But anyway, I messaged my good friend, Eden. I'd been messaging them for a bit about things like how I wouldn't go crabbing in Chroma or anywhere because it's against my veganism, because it probably distresses the crabs, but they were saying it like doesn't really harm them. But then I was also thinking, oh, but you've got to use dead pig as bait, which is not pleasant. And yeah, I'd messaged Eden saying that I'd been driving around for like almost 2 hours. Well, it was an hour and a half. And they asked me why. And I think I said I was feeling low after the event. So I told them I'd messaged them when I got home, and then I said that I was going to drive off. So I had Apple Maps on my phone programmed for home, And then as I was coming out of this I think I kept saying industrial estate. I meant housing estate as I kept coming out of this housing estate. Not as I kept coming out, as I was coming out of this housing estate. There was a roundabout, but I needed to go right at the roundabout, according to Apple Maps, but it was saying that it was saying I could see it was blocked off due to roadworks, so I turned left. And then I realised that the next roundabout was taking me onto a dual carriageway, and I thought, this isn't ideal because I haven't driven on a dual carriageway in a long time, and it's dark, and you know, it's about 11:30 now, and I'm getting tired. Thankfully, I hadn't taken any of my nightly meds, so they weren't shutting my brain down or anything, because I'm on clonidine and lorazepam. Yeah, it was a good job I hadn't taken them. Anyway, so Apple Maps was telling me to go left at this roundabout, so I took what I thought was the left turning. But it was a really sharp turning, and it just didn't feel right. And as soon as I turned, I was thinking, oh gosh, I should reverse, because I saw that Apple Maps was saying I was off the road, and I was thinking that this really doesn't feel right. And then as I kept driving, I'm not entirely sure what was going on, but I'm pretty sure I was going the wrong way down a slip road. And my brain was, you know, going, oh gosh, this is not good, but like my heart rate wasn't going up, and like I have an anxiety disorder, so you know, it was like, well, why aren't I getting really anxious? Because I then realised I was driving the wrong way down the A11, and I was thinking, oh right, well, I can't keep driving the wrong way down the road, and it was just like, thank goodness there wasn't a car coming the other way, you know. So I saw that the hard shoulder was on the right of the road instead of the left, so I just stopped on the hard shoulder, and I thought about what I was going to do, and I thought, well, I need to turn around, but I was like, what if I kind of stall when I'm turning around? What if I, you know, don't get around fast enough, and then a car comes the other way and smashes into me? Because I wouldn't have been able to like just contain my turning around on the hard shoulder, because the hard shoulder isn't big enough for that. And then with great luck, there was an ambulance happening to be coming the other way. And at first I was thinking, oh gosh, I'm gonna get accused of trying to murder people. But yeah, the ambulance stopped in front, behind. It's confusing because I was the wrong way. So I guess, yeah, technically in front of me, but kind of behind me on the hard shoulder. And I rolled down the window of the car, and the ambulance driver came out, and they said to me, they said, what's happened here? And I said, yeah, well, I took what I thought was an exit on this roundabout, and I realised I was the wrong way down a dual carriageway, so I stopped as soon as I could, or something along those lines. And they asked me if I'd called anyone, and I said, no, I've just been here about a minute. And they said, right, well, we'll call the police for you. And I was thinking, well, they seem to be on my side, so, I was managing to stay calm with this. And they said the police are going to have to block the road off so that you can turn around. And they asked me what my name was, and I was thinking, I should ask them back what their name is. But, yeah, I was just kind of focusing on staying safe, really. Anyway, they got back in the ambulance, and the ambulance was sort of like slanted on the right way on the hard shoulder, so that cars coming would slow down, which I didn't totally understand, because I was contained in the hard shoulder, so I didn't see how cars could smash into me. But I guess the ambulance driver was just being extra cautious. And then there was another person in the ambulance, not someone that was ill, not someone that needed medical treatment, but another member of staff, if that's the right word, another ambulance person, paramedic maybe, I'm not sure, but yeah, they were in the ambulance looking concerned at first, but then I just saw them having a load of snacks, so I was like, well, at least they get a break and stuff, because I was feeling really bad about wasting these people's time, but they seemed really happy to help, and they were lovely. So I was waiting for the police to come, and the lights of the ambulance were on. And then after kind of maybe about 7 minutes or something, the ambulance driver came out again, and asked and said, I've forgotten what your name was, so I reminded him, or them, not to assume gender, and then they said, we've spoken to the police, and they should be able to come and help you, or they will come and help you. And then I was thinking, are they gonna drive off now? But luckily they didn't. But I was getting a bit worried, because I was getting quite sleepy, and I was like, oh gosh, I'm not sure how long I'm gonna have to be waiting here. So then I texted Eden again, who I'd texted to say that I was driving off. And before that, they texted me to say, am I alright getting home? So I just completely told them what had happened. And then they called me and was offering to come and get a taxi to be with me at the side of the dual carriageway, so I wasn't alone. But I was trying to explain that wasn't necessary, and hopefully the police should be with me soon. But yeah, they were really concerned about me, and the fact that I'd been driving around when I was low. And just to be absolutely clear, this was not a suicide attempt. But it was, it wasn't sensible to be driving around for so long, with, the risk of getting tired. It's just it's very inconsistent whether I feel tired or not at certain times. But yeah, also I hadn't, been driving on dual carriageways regularly, and it was it was night time and obviously dark. Well, not obviously dark, because it can be nighttime without it being dark. But anyway, I'm very aware I'm rambling, and this is now 15 minutes long. I'm not good at being succinct in my storytelling, but hopefully you're still listening. Anyway, so I got off the phone with Eden because the police had arrived at that point. So I got out of the car, and they asked me, they were just like, oh, so you need help with turning round, don't you? And I said yes. And they said, have you been taking drinks? Have you been taking drugs or drinking alcohol? And I said no, which was the truth. And I was expecting to be breathalyzed, but I guess they could just tell that I was sober, so that was all good. And at first I kind of thought it was bad that they didn't breathalyze me, because it's like, I could have easily been lying, but I guess, yeah, they could just tell that I was like all fine and dandy. Oh yeah, I forgot to mention before that, the ambulance driver had asked me whether I'd driven the wrong way down the road to harm myself, which I guess is a euphemism to try and kill myself. But yeah, they didn't ask any other mental health sort of related questions. They were just like good with, that it was an accident. Anyway, so we've got to the police have arrived, and they didn't actually end up having to block off the whole road. What they did was, after they checked my license, one of their colleagues, well, there were two police officers, and one of them said to the other that they'd turn me around. Bless me. So I got in the passenger seat of the car, and the police officer got in the driver's seat. There was a bit of a panic because I thought I'd lost the keys, or like dropped them on the road or whatever, but they were just in my pocket, and there was too much stuff in my pocket. Eden had asked me to text the address of where I was, so I was really quickly trying to message them to say it was all alright, and the police were spinning me around, and I explained to the police officer that was what I was doing, because I thought it would look odd that I was texting while they were doing this. Also, I felt really bad because Eden had insomnia that night, and I made that worse. But I guess I told them what had happened because I didn't want to just leave them hanging with whether I was home or not. Anyway, so the police and the police, their colleague had said to them, "You're gonna have to do this really quickly. It's gonna have to be like a very speedy maneuver." So yeah, this officer got in and asked, "So is it a manual?" And I said yes. I eventually found my keys buried in my pocket. And as they turned around, they actually stalled, which made me feel, a whole lot better about my driving. But yeah, it was an absolute relief that there wasn't a car to crash into us when they stalled. But it kind of shows I probably, like, if the ambulance hadn't happened to have been there at that point, I probably could have just turned around. But no, it was like reassuring to have the help of these services. So then the police drove me to this, so yeah, there was this sort of roundabout there, and then there was this like kind of not turning sort of thing off the roundabout, so they just sort of then put me there, and then the police car came so the officer could get in and they could go off and do whatever they needed to do next. I was kind of sad that I didn't get to say goodbye to the ambulance driver, because they'd like really helped me stay calm. Yeah. So then I continued driving home. Apple Maps was being all fine and dandy. And then when it was safe, I pulled over again, and I called Eden and said that it was all good, and we chatted for a bit. I can't remember about what, but, well, probably about the situation. And they were saying that they thought I should be in hospital because they were concerned about how low I was feeling, and they didn't believe me that it was a complete accident. But then they started to say, like, oh, maybe like your judgment was impaired being low, but I think it was just that I was getting tired and listening to music. And I even told the police that. I told them that it was because I was listening to music. I didn't tell them that I was tired. But yeah, after calling Eden to reassure them that I was 8 minutes away from home, I drove home, and then I had a hard time getting to sleep after kind of the intensity of all of that. Made myself a pizza because I needed to take, I had dough and I needed to take my mood stabilizer with food, which is the lorazepam. So I took that and my clonidine, and at some point I got to sleep, and that was that. So yeah, wow, that's ended up being 22 and a half minutes, so well done for watching or listening, because if you didn't want to look at my face the whole time, I don't blame you. No, I'm only joking, I'm absolutely beautiful. Yeah, I don't know how to end this, really. I'm alive. Yeah, still like struggling with low mood and anxiety, but the fact I could stay calm in such an intense situation, and like my auntie said this to me, shows that, like, kind of makes this theory that other situations should be a breeze, really. But it's just so odd that, I can have really intense anxiety about sometimes like going in the city, or like meeting someone new, or just sort of like social interactions, but then going the wrong way down a dual carriageway, I'm just like, oh, it'll be fine. And I had a situation recently as well where I was in Aylsham accidentally when I live in Helsden, and I'd missed my bus stop, and my phone was only on 10%. So it was like, oh gosh, am I gonna get a taxi called in time? Luckily I did. And then when I got home, my dad was like, oh, you should have called me, I would have come and picked you up. And I was like, oh damn. But anyway, I'm going to end this there now, because it is 24 and a half minutes long, and I am not going to be editing it because I don't get paid for that. Bye!